I'm J.R. Todd.
I'm Antron Brown, and this is The Skinny.
From Fathead Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
So, AB, the boys went out. JR, Coletta, went out and got in the midgets out at the Speedway. Where were you?
Brother, I was off doing a sponsor event, but I'm going to make sure I am free and
That
clear.
was a sponsor event.
I know.
I think you got their shirt on, actually.
You know what I mean? Exactly. I know. Well, I got told about this year. This year is like, and they told me about JR and Dougie out there. And I can't believe they put you in their real race cars.
That's what I keep saying.
I'm like, they had to race them jokers, man. I said, did they know they had a chance of not getting them back?
Yeah, so the best part is someone finally sent me a video. It's like a couple months later. They're in the infield, and like Christopher Bell's like someone in the video, and you could just see like every time I go in the corner, like he's just nervous. He's like pacing back and forth. Like
he's like, Lord have mercy.
He's going to jump my car.
I feel that guy's pain, yeah.
Yeah, you were worried. He was scared to death.
Yeah, exactly.
That you were going to crash that car.
Yes.
I'm like, I might have been a little close to the wall that time.
He told the story last time he was on the show, and he said, as soon as I get back, he said, Keith Coons looks at me and said, don't do that anymore.
But no, that stuff is like just like anything. The more you do it, like the more you get more comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm getting a little more ballsy now. Like, let's try this. But it was fun.
Dougie probably loved it.
Oh yeah, it's like for him, like that kind of stuff's like riding a bike.
Dude, I used to.
That's where he came from.
Yeah, we used to roll in. We used to roll in when I was, many years younger. We would roll into Anderson, and at the time nobody had any haulers, any stackers, any of that stuff. There's a black semi there with gold leaf lettering in the back corner. It says Coletta, and that's all it had to say. And it was him, and he would go out and ruin people.
Yeah, he crushed people on pavement. Yeah.
Big time. He could have had a payment career. I mean,
think
like
so, for sure.
In IndyCar, NASCAR. I mean, he was that good. He was that smooth. But Conrad said, "We're going the other direction here. We're going straight."
Doug's the one that I'm really blown away has not won over here and has not won that championship, man. Because every time he rolls up,
man,
like that dude could win every race he shows up at.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you something. I looked at Doug and almost had the same feeling because Tony Schumacher almost did to me, and we had him hands down, no problem. Like, we haven't lost the first round the whole year, and Dougie went where Tony had to go to the last run and set a world record and win the race. Set a world record.
By like a minimal amount.
Yeah, can't do it by too much because
Right.
you have the backup run to back it up so it can't be like really get it out, right? And does it inside like the most impossible thing, not like impossible thing to do, and does it. And you see Dougie's face on TV like, people thought he said, you got to be kidding me. But he had a couple F-bombs in there between that, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at him like, how? Because that man was on fire that year. You know what I mean? And Dougie, I had battles with him too in some of the championships we won where we battled out against each other. And I mean, the man could drive the car sideways. He leaves on time. He drives the car. It's just like winning the championship, you got to be good all the time, but you got to have things fall in place at the right time.
Right.
You got to be at the like you just can't hit it good in the beginning of the year. You just can't hit it good at the middle of the year. You've got to be good throughout. And that's just, I think, what's been his Achilles heels, where they've been good throughout the whole year, but they always have a stride where they have a little misfortune. And not like they're not running bad, not like Dougie did a bad job, but some fluke happened, like a parts failure or something breaking,
Exactly.
Bad batch of disc or some silly thing.
Well, like one thing, like the chutes came out. I think it was last year, year before last, the chutes come out on the burnout. Like on race day, like come on, man. Like, you can't have like just dumb stuff that doesn't happens to him at the wrong time.
It does. And we all been victims of, because I remember 2 races left with the Tony Schumacher deal, right? 2012. Haven't lost a race first round all year. Have qualified in the top 4 all year. And we never even lost the first round. First race out, we qualified 2 in Vegas. We go out there, our management box didn't work, so it ain't in the clutch. So it literally nuked the clutch out the car, dropped the hole, and I was putting across the line, and Belushi crawls past me, blipping the throttle on and off, and beats me. If I won that, championship done. First race, Pomona race, Spencer Massey. Shook and smoked the tires off the line. I'm way down the racetrack. You know what happened? My fuel line busts off. Busts off, blackfires the supercharger, burns my hands up and everything, and I go cruising across, the parachutes out, Spencer limps around me and wins. Like both of them I had on one. All I do is win one round. 2 races, but like I said, and that's been Doug's whole career.
Basically, yep.
Whole career, dominated people all year long.
Yeah.
What I thought was cool, though, the year that Tony did that, the next night at the awards banquet, like we all get announced, like 2 through 10 go up on stage. You got like when Doug got announced number 2, like the entire room stood up and gave him a standing ovation, like basically like recognizing that he should have won the championship.
Yeah.
I thought that was way cool.
You did enough this year, man.
Right.
You really did enough this year.
Yeah, and he's got quite the business himself with the flying services.
Yeah, I mean, the old man, is at the top, doing what he's done so far with this coronavirus and what have you. But Dougie is, low key, right there beside him. No one really understands, Dougie's flying business. But it's he doesn't have the big 747.
But he's got, 20 planes
a
now
lot
or
of planes.
like
And now he's starting to do a lot more with DHL. And he flies for, a lot of the auto manufacturers. Just he's got a lot of planes and does really well.
Yes, he does.
And is he flying international as well, or is it mainly stateside?
I think it's mainly stateside, and Connie's the one, his planes, I mean, he has over 20, I think almost 30 747s, and they're all moving all around the world.
Just
nonstop.
30. The business is where your guys' shop is, or vice versa, right?
The race shop used to be where the business is at the airport, Willow Run. We're probably 5-10 minutes from there now. And then where they keep the 7.4s, that's probably 3 hours north in northern Michigan. It's like an old Army base that he has up there. It's pretty wild. You go up there. We went 2-3 years ago, and he's got other airlines sending their 747s up there for maintenance. You'll see some commercial airlines. They're like, what are these things here for? The old man has one of the very few dynos in the world or whatever to test these things. They send their stuff here to get engine rebuilds. He's got it pretty cornered on what he's doing.
When Toyota really started stepping into drag racing, they had asked, Ed, because I'd known Ed for a long time, and Ed was starting to take that side of it over as well with the motorsports side and everything back in the day. And he said, you got to give me a heads up. Who are these teams? He goes, I don't know any of these people. I said, and I remember specifically telling him, Coletta, he doesn't need your money. That's your best bet. You know what I mean? He doesn't need your money. Lucas, he doesn't need your money. That's another one of your best bets.
Right.
And but it was, Ed was walking in blind. Here you got and now, geez, where they are with with you guys and everything they do, and I mean it's really, really cool to see where that has grown to. But it was kind of crazy in the beginning.
It's been amazing to see how Toyota and TRD has come over, and what they have facilitated in motorsports in general. Is people don't realize the backbone that we have. When they see Toyota on our cars, they go, that ain't a Toyota engine, that ain't that. I said, no, they help us develop everything that's on this race car. And they have engineers that take you to a whole step beyond. And Coletta, they always been very, very competitive, okay? But I can tell you one thing for sure, is when TRD got involved, and JR knows what I'm talking about, because he went from being a competitive funny car team to a championship winning funny car team.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that was, I saw it with my own eyes, because I saw their cars they were good. They can win a race and then win another race and go here, go there, but they could never put a string of things together. Back to back to back to back to back, what it takes to win a championship.
Right.
Well, there's a difference when things line up and you have a good day versus the team that's actually leading the way, that's charging ahead.
Correct. Yes.
And that's what TRD brought. And we chatted about that on a previous show. Bringing Shaggy and Slugger and these guys, they just think out of the box. So they're not tied in to where all the drag racing guys have been tied in for 15, 20 years. They come in with a fresh mind, and they're looking at everything from 10,000 feet, if you will, down there. And it's we can make this better. And why is this like this? Why don't we take a look at this? It's
Absolutely.
just their brain is unbelievable.
Because they're used to winning championships, whether it's circle track, dirt tracks, anything
Ivan Stewart.
straight line. When they get into it, they get in at full bore. And for me, I'm a fan of the sport, so I watch everything. I look at even other drivers' demeanors on how they handle certain situations, crew chiefs, crew guys, how they're going to get through this or how they're going to get through that. And I remember distinctly because I remember seeing JR's mindset change. He became a champion. And I'm talking about because he's here.
That confidence, right?
Well, you can see the difference. Yeah. Because now the difference of it was before he was happy if they just did well or if they won this race or won that race. Well, now is a different expectation you see. And when you become a champion, you get that built into your mind. That's what a lot of people don't know from the outside is when you see him got that swagger, that stance. When things don't go right, is like, this ain't how it's supposed to work.
Right.
Like, I'm not, like, we should be out here winning, going rounds, taking care of business. And when it doesn't happen, you see JR now, like, hold up.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Hold up. Like, same way that I get.
Right.
You get what I mean? And you can tell and you can see that in different drivers and teams once they get that chip. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't have that chip until they get there and get that chip. And I mean, once you win that championship, that's when they start getting that chip because they feel like this is where they belong and this is where they need to be and we need to be there. Ain't no more like, oh man, we had a good weekend. No,
that's not acceptable, right?
No.
You know, we were talking about with the fan base, you know, hockey is great to watch on TV. It's exciting. NHRA is great to watch on TV. It's exciting. But man, there's nothing like being there.
Oh,
and we got to get more people in the stands and because it is a great sport and it's like a daredevil sport. I mean, I really don't know how else to put it, but that's, you know, really it's crazy.
Like from the time when I wasn't driving full time, I spent a lot of time at the sprint car races and made a lot of friends and buddies over there. And, like they, I guess, kind of respected me as a driver, but just always kind of laughed it off. Like, oh, you just go in a straight line. Like, it ain't a big deal. Like, whatever. And then, like, once I started racing full time and some of our races overlaid with them, like, got them to come out, like, it totally changed their mind. Like this is awesome. Like, you guys are nuts. Like, that, like, almost makes me feel good. Like, when they say something like that. Like, I didn't want to tell you, like, you guys were wrong or dumb for, like, kind of half-ass making fun of me for being a drag racer. But it's just different. Like, I respect what you guys do and vice versa. There's
nothing like sitting in an announce tower and calling a fuel race and seeing just how straight they don't go.
Correct.
But you have to have that angle. And you watch those things black track down through there. Yes. And it is unbelievable how much they are moving around. It's like, don't think they're not driving their ass off because it is not going straight, and it doesn't want to go straight. It wants to kill itself. It's pissed off at the world.
That's something I wish that our TV show would bring into play. Is like, I like bowling. Like, time off, like a bunch of us get together, go drink beer and bowling. So I got those from pro bowlers, so I'll watch it when it's on TV. And they've come up with a technology that's like a ball tracer. They'll show, the curve of the ball going down the lane. Like, that's what they should do for us.
Golf as well, right?
Yeah, like overlay the lines on the run and see, who is doing a good job keeping that thing straight and like who's not, basically, because they're not going straight. If you, like I said, if you see a run that is going straight, 9 times out of 10, that driver's driving his ass off inside the car, making it look boring.
And they ought to go split screen. They ought to go split screen to where they are showing it.
If we could do something behind the cars, it would be super cool, and let them chase them down with the zoom lens.
Yep.
I don't know if you're going to chase them down, but you're going to.
You're not going to chase them at all. I think like what you see at football games out, those cable cams are over across the field. Like, just run a cable along at the track. And have the camera already going so far down track before we go. And when we go blowing by that camera, like, that'll put it, give you a good perspective of how fast we're going. Or like,
those things move around so much more than you guys get credit for. And especially the funny cars. I mean, they knock a cylinder out, and you see the car move over and okay, it'll clip a cone, but just the way it's shot, it doesn't do it justice. You don't understand how quickly that happened, how violent that move was.
Right.
The guy's trying to not get in the other lane and crash whoever he's racing with. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just happened in a fraction of a second there.
Yeah, it's basically like it's almost just somebody punted the side of your car trying to jerk the wheel out of your hands. Like I said, there's times you're crossing the finish line with the wheel like this because it's got a cylinder out, and you're too dumb to lift off the throttle, you know. So,
I mean, come on.
At the same time, like it's runs like that, and when you win, like you're like, oh man, like that was awesome. Or a pedal fest, you know, a pedal fest that you can win. That's where you're like, that gets your adrenaline pegged to the max, I feel like.
So you guys are talking about how your brain slows down and you're processing all the stuff. You put yourself in a pedal fest. Every time you whack that throttle, are you thinking, is the motor about to blow apart? How many more times can I get away with this?
So 2017, I believe it was, Sonoma, semifinals racing Jack Beckman, blow him off on the starting line. 9 times out of 10, if you smoke the tires on a starting line, you're not catching the guy next to you, especially if he's trouble-free. Well, like, I just happened to crack the throttle and get back in it just because you don't give up until you see the guy across the finish line next to you. Well, Jack had a problem, like, half track, like, dead in the water. I'm like, oh, dude, like, you see him come, like, I'm going to run out of room before I can chase him down. I think it was, like, probably 10 feet that I had to get by him and, like, got the win. Like that to me, like blew my mind that it even happened. You're like, right? Like, you're like, oh, come on, you're talking to yourself. You're like, oh, he's dead. He's dead. Like, come on, baby, come on.
The pedal fest is, I mean, because you say like, bop, you know, and they're already unhooked, you know,
right? So yeah. And to me, I'm not worried like if it's going to blow up. Like you're punishing that thing. It better not blow up.
And you're trying to crack it because the bad part is the way these butterflies work. When you crack them, they're so violent. They're not like our cars when I first started racing, like 08, 09.
You can't squeeze
on,
right?
You used to be able to like get back on. The car will just it didn't have the power it has
now. Supercharger, right?
Like our cars can drop a hole, and they might lose 200 or 300 off their ET sometimes. Wow. Like, you know what I mean? It depends on how bad or where it drops at, of course, right? Yeah. But I had times we dropped at the step of the throttle, and the car just goes a tenth slower. Okay? So say you go on a 370 flight, it goes to 380 flight.
It's still accelerating.
Still accelerating. And you're shocked because back in the day when it dropped the hole, it never ran like that.
Right.
Like if you dropped the hole back in the day and you were running 380, it'll run a 405.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Like now, it'll drop a hole, and you got to say, did it drop a hole? Because you don't know, because the car only lost 200 to 330. It doesn't lose until it really goes 1-to-1 at half, like not even half track, like 3/4 of the way down at 550 or 600 feet to 4,000 foot, right?
Absolutely.
So you're like, damn, like, and I know I got back a couple times. The crew chief goes, Brian, I go, you ain't feel that hole out? I said, Brian, it was 1/100 slower. You could tell me you could feel that? You know what I mean?
He's just saying it because he didn't see it to hit the remote to shut you off.
But we didn't blow it up. But it was like during a qualifying run, because you don't want to tear your stuff up during qualifying, and you'll hit it all the time. But I was like, no, because before when it dropped the hole, you could feel your face go to like, your face will go it'll hit actually your dashboard. It'll literally go, boom, and you're like, all right, it dropped the hole. Well, now it just goes, and like you're pulling back, but your head doesn't come forward no more because the darn thing, it's got so much stank in the tank, it's still trying to rip the asphalt up.
Right, and like he was saying, back to pedaling it, the superchargers are so powerful now, and like they're creating so much vacuum that when you go to even crack the throttle, like it sucks the blades open damn near. So it takes like an art to like roll into that thing. It is tough to do.
I know I've been around enough now that I understand, and certainly it's designed to go wide open because you want it to react and get after it. It's a race car. It's what it's for. But I remember early on, like, why can't they just squeeze on a little bit? Well, I've since learned a lot more, but that's just not an option for you guys.
You got to break it. Like first, you got to break the seal.
Right.
Like when you let off the gas, when you got done, when you smoke the tires, you let off the pedal, the blades close, and you got vacuum of it sucking the blades in, okay? So what you got to do is you got to break the suction. So you got to like break the seal where it goes pop, but it goes pop, and then you open the blades, they go like all the way open almost again. And what you got to do is you got to break the seal, and then you got to bring your your foot back, and control it so it doesn't close all the way. And then you got to try to like feather it down, or you might do the old Dixon deal. I call it Dixon used to do a deal where he uses waddle throttle. He used to go on and off till the car got momentum and then go wide open. I used to watch the slow-mo and go, how does Dixon pedal so good? Tony was different. Tony used to keep his foot light on the pedal, so he just felt it smoke. He'll just let off and not let the blades close all the way. And then he'll roll it. He had a control where he didn't let it come back to where it all the way closed. It was like to like a burnout stop.
Right.
Almost. I was like, check that joker out. You know what I mean?
So he didn't immediately react and let his foot off. No, he just like, pull her back.
Like he let it come back, but he didn't let it shut all the way, so he didn't have to matted open, and so he was really quick to respond, but he was really quick to catch it. You have to be quick to catch it to do it, because if you wait too long, it was already juiced up, spinning a lot.
You gotta let the tires relax.
You gotta let the tire relax. Well, he caught it so quick that the tires relax when he's letting off the gas and hook back up, and then he'll just feather it from there and come back down smooth. And Dixon was like a on and off guy, like whoa, 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 and then went all the way down.
Which it's easy to break that seal. I say easy, but when we hit the throttle initially, like you're not just using your foot to crack the pedal, like you're basically like kicking it. So like it's easy to get that part, but like you said, pedaling, that's when it like, all right, now you got to be gentle. Like you got to tell yourself to calm down. That's the hard part, especially like if you smoke them early in the run. Like you usually got a lot of wheel speed. Like, all right, settle down. Which it's hard to tell yourself, and the guy's driving away from you in the other lane.
Yeah.
You're like, come on, baby, catch it up.
That has to be an eternity.
It seems like it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So AB, we asked JR, and we pretty well knew a lot of his story coming up. What did you start racing first?
I started racing motorcycles when I was 4 years old. I literally got my first pedaling, like I just learned how to ride my pedaling bike without training wheels. And I had a little Z50 Honda that I went out into the field and started racing. That's why I raced motocross for so long, because when I was a kid, they didn't have junior dragsters. Junior dragsters didn't come for me until I was like they had them out like when I was 18. I was past that. Was David Knapp and his son at Englishtown.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Vinny.
Vinny Knapp,
with David. And I was just like, man, why didn't they have that like 10 years ago? You get what I mean? And like it came out like right when I was just turning like 18. I'm like, I'll be darned.
Because 17 was the cut, or 18 was the cutoff, yeah.
And I was like, but they were the coolest things when they came out, and half-scale dragsters built the first one that's right out of North Jersey. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget, I was like, man, but I just grew up doing the dirt bike thing, and then I just raced dirt bikes for so long, but I was at the drag strip during the week at Test and Tune. My dad at ACO, Englishtown all the time. We go to Maple Grove, Cecil County, Island Dragway, New Media.
MIR.
MIR. We go to Budge Creek, Maryland at MIR. We've been all over the place, and just on that East Coast, we have like 5 tracks within less than 2 hours away.
So you went from the dirt bikes. How did it go into pro stock, or where did you go next to the drag racing?
Well, the cool part is how I got into the drag racing. I never got to drive none of my uncle or dad's race cars. You know, I was 17 years old, and what I did was I went to the drag strip, and I started doing street bike stuff because that's what I could afford. You get what I mean? I built a street bike, and my dad used to race motorcycles, drag race them. Little H2 Kawasaki 2-stroke 750s. Bob Carpenter from New Jersey over there, down South Jersey, pro stock bike guy. And he did my dad's engine work and stuff like that. And then my dad looked at me, and then we met Troy Vincent, who played for Philadelphia Eagles.
He's married to your cousin, right?
Yeah, married my cousin Tommy, right from Trenton, New Jersey. And it was crazy because he used to come there with his football buddies and some of his buddies that he knew from Philly, some of his boys he knew from up New York, some people that played for the Giants, Jets. They all had bike riders. And what they did was I was his jockey because I was this little kid and nobody knew who I was. And I came right from motocross. It was all clutch control. Driving a street bike to a dirt bike, I drive it backwards. You get what I mean? It was like it was nothing. And I had a lot of fun. And they're like, who's this kid you got, Troy? And I was small. I was like 140 pounds, 138 pounds, soaking wet, get on this bike. And I rode all his big bikes that Bob built for him. And he used to bet. I remember he used to bet, and then when we won money, he gave me a little piece of it, whatever it is, but we never lost. And he used to bet his guys. They're like, who is this kid? Because I was like a little kid when I was like 18. I was 13 years old. And then all the other guys like, you let that kid whoop y'all ass. You know what I mean? And that's how it started. And then Troy got into it, met Dave Schultz. Met Dave Schultz through his son, Bryant Schultz. And because Troy used to go to AMA Pro Star race, loved motorcycles. Knew Fast by Faraci out of Pennsylvania, who did the big AMA superbikes. He had a street bike that had a 200 horsepower. That was a Ducati, done up Porsche black with his football number on it. All magnesium. I mean, he had some nice stuff. And then Troy goes, Aunt, I'm in college. He calls me up one day and goes, I want to go pro style bike racing. You want to be my jockey? I'm like, man, I got a full scholarship I got to turn down. Like, I just got done my 2 years. I'm about to go to my last 2 years in a 4-year school, and I can pretty much go to any school I want to for track and field. I never forget, I'm like, let me think about it. I'm in. that's when my whole career started. That's how I literally went from a kid from a rural little town called Chesterfield, country out New Jersey, South Jersey, to becoming a professional racer. But a lot of people don't realize I sacrificed where I gave up my track and field scholarship. I didn't get paid a dime for my first year of racing pro at all. It was a sacrifice for him to build the team, for me to get going, and to see if we can actually win a race and make it happen. And we didn't win a race the first year.
Were you on a Suzuki then?
I was on a Suzuki.
Okay.
There was no V-twins or Harleys out there. It was
Right.
all Suzukis or Kawasaki's when I raced. Everything was even. And Matt Hines and Angel were like the cream of the creme, and John Myers was out there. But Angel was really when she was taking off, and Matt and her were going tit for tat for championships. And I remember we joined Vance and Hines after the first year, and then we had power. Well, I used to leave on everybody, and the only way we used to win on hole shots. I used to always qualify like between 6 to like the 6th to 10th spot, somewhere in between there all the time, or number 5. Then the next year we started qualifying like number 3, number 2, and we won our first race in Dallas, and everybody red light against me because they couldn't outrun us no more.
That's the first one, say. Go ahead.
01 and 06 finished second in the points.
Yeah, it killed me. And one year I finished 3rd, and I only lost by 40 points too. It's like those deals where you like, all right, like we race professional, and that was the biggest thing in the bike career is just that I love it where I'm at now is because we could push hard and we're not penalized. We can hit the tree as hard as we can. We got a little bit too much cushion and fuel.
Correct.
But it's a lot better than going red because you saw yellow.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot going on there. Obviously, wrinkle up the tire and get everything moving. But those bikes, man, boy, they react so quickly. You often wonder if there's something you could do to them mechanically to slow them down. It bites Krawick and Hines and these guys that are good on the tree. It bites them all the time.
Yeah, old man Arana. That was his. That
Oh
was
my
his
God.
nemesis.
Red all the time.
Well, NA Trey could fix it because they just could change the lay.
Right.
Or they can just let them have an incandescent bulb again. They don't want them to, but they just need to adjust
Change the
tree.
number, yeah.
Just change the number. And they could do it by computer. It'll be so much better for the bike class because you want people to have to work on their craft to be better, not work on slowing yourself down. They're not human delay boxes.
Right.
When you're talking about a pro class, you should be able to see yellow, hit it, go, and then the winners decide the finish line by thousandths of a second. Not because somebody saw yellow and let it go. Oh, they got red, so this other person got to win.
And that's the thing. I mean, that's what we were just talking about earlier. It's about the camera behind, the tracer, the light. I mean, it's like, come on, guys, listen.
Simple things.
Listen.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they've got a newer regime there now, and listen, I like all the guys well. But the thing about it is, we got to do something to make it better. We got to do something to make it work better. It's happening, but you got to make more changes to make things happen, So, but anyhow, and I'll finish with this: ever ride a nitro bike?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Them jokers are crazy.
You were talking about the tracer, and that's exactly what I was thinking about.
No. Because think about this. When have you not seen a nitro engine blow up? Can anybody tell me? And what happens after they blow up? Fire comes
Carnage.
out. Fire. Parts are everywhere. Who is going to lay their chest and their stomach? And it ain't the speed. I'll go to speed. Ain't no problem. You know what I mean? You
got to wear a Kevlar vest to ride it.
The Top Fuel Harley guys, I mean, they still scare me to death. Now, you were talking about John Myers and Schultz. Those guys are my heroes back in the day. Elmer Trett of course, that was a horrible day when Elmer and Blaine both at the same event.
I was there.
But those guys, what about one of those fuel bikes, say like Spider-Man?
a Suzuki Spider-Man?
250, 260?
I think I like to try that one time because think about it is he got his stuff under wraps and it's an inline four, so there's not a lot of stuff that flies out because the valve train's a lot smaller, but he's got that thing done upright. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen his stuff tear up. He runs it mild and it's got plenty of power, and he just goes faster and faster. And you see Larry, he don't age.
Nope.
McBride does not age, man. He looks better and better every time I see him.
Yep. I'm pumped because I think they're supposed to run 2 of our events this year. Like when I was a kid growing up, like they're at a lot of the events. Like I can't wait to see those things again.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up as a kid, there was a Kawasaki shop. I was born and raised Clearwater, Florida, and there was a Kawasaki shop down there, and the Terminal Van Lines bike was down there. Bo Brockta ran that. It was just the coolest looking bike of all time, and the the fuel bikes were super, super cool back then.
Yes, they are. I love them. I love watching them. I just watch them.
Yeah, exactly.
I just watch them.
You know, I can't believe you rode with Schultz. I can't believe he was your teammate, and man, he was just Terry. He stopped Vance. Terry Vance was the king.
Yes,
and he stopped him. And Terry Vance said he was the best pro stock rider of all time. And those are words out of Terry's mouth. And talk about a
Terry was sharp though. Terry. You got to remember, I call him a distinguished gentleman. Very humble, very kind. But Terry Vance was a bad man.
Oh, yeah.
I always call him the smooth operator. Brother.
He was another one, had a really good-looking fuel bike.
Smooth on the clutch. I mean, but he was the pro stock man.
He was the pro stock man.
Pro stock man. You know what I mean? Like, Byron Hines could make the power. And Byron Hines was a decent rider, too. But Terry Vance, brother, that joker knew how to get it done.
Then Schultz comes along. Him and Myers, just wicked battles for years. And Schultz wins 6 championships. There's a story where Schultz fell off a ladder. I think he was doing some work to the top of his trailer, fell off a ladder, both arms in a cast, and rode for 5 races and won a championship that year.
Yes.
That's a badass.
He was a bad man. He was a bad man, old Dave. And always right there with him and Cope. That was Gray Cope back in those days, engine builder. Really sharp guy. Sharp.
Star Racing,
George Bryce
and those cats, and that's when Angel and you're talking about. I mean, there were some vicious battles. Man,
there was just not battles. There was words, there was fights, there was some bloodshed over there. But that's what made the sport what it was, because they did not like each other. It wasn't no make believe. It was like they looked down like he wanted to gut him. And George looked at him, he wanted to trip him and stomp on him. So they had it was no love lost between them two, trust me.
Once again, an excellent time, man. Can't thank these guys enough for coming by. JR, Todd, thanks, brother, man. We really appreciate you coming by. And, of course, both you guys are nice and close, man, straight out of Pittsburgh.
You know it.
AB rocked on over here as well, man. Thanks a lot, dude, and wish you guys the best of luck here this season. We'll get you back on here for sure. And thanks for everything you've done for the sport as well all along the way. It's awesome.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Pleasure being on.
Stay skinny.
Stay skinny, baby.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Skinny. Be sure to check out all the latest sun and optical eyewear at fatheads.com. Special thanks to our sponsorship partners at Elliott's Custom Trailers and Carts. This has been a production of Fathead Studios. Please remember to subscribe.